It's 3 a.m., Triangle Hill, Korea, February 1953. A 22-year-old lies face down in a frozen ditch. He hasn't eaten in 12 hours. He hasn't moved in 4. The temperature is -15 degrees Celsius. He has one job. 60 yards to his left, a man with the best sniper optics the American military could produce is scanning the exact ridge he's lying on. That man has been hunting our soldier for 3 days. One of these men will not see tomorrow, and the one with no scope, he already knows he's going to win. Before we go back to that ditch, before we find out how a man with no scope beat a man with every advantage, you need to understand something. Zhang Taofang was not supposed to be here. 2 months before this night, his commanding officer seriously considered sending him home. Not because he was cowardly, not because he was weak, because Zhang Taofang, the man who would go on to achieve 214 confirmed kills in 32 days, couldn't hit a stationary target at 50 yards. During his first week of combat training at the front, he missed every single shot. Every single one. His unit laughed. His sergeant reassigned him to the kitchen, and Zhang Taofang, who had left his farm in Jiangsu province, believing he was going to serve his country, spent his first days of war peeling vegetables. So how does that man end up in a frozen ditch, about to win a duel with the most feared marksman on the hill? That is exactly the story we're telling today. If you're new here, this is what we do. We open the files on the soldiers history forgot. Hit subscribe so you never miss the next one. Now, back to the man who couldn't shoot.
Most soldiers would have accepted the kitchen. It was warm. It was safe. The artillery couldn't reach you there. Zhang Taofang could not accept it. Every night while his unit slept, and I mean every single night, he would take his rifle out of the rack and crawl to the edge of the trench, not to fire, just to hold. He had noticed something during training. His hands trembled, not from fear, from tension. The harder he tried to hold the rifle still, the more it shook. So he began a ritual that would seem almost insane to anyone watching. He would balance a small stone on the muzzle of his Mosin-Nagant, and he would hold that position, arms extended, body perfectly rigid, for 1 hour, then 2, then 3. The stone was his teacher. Any tremor, any micro-movement, any tension in his shoulders, and the stone would fall. After 2 weeks of this, he could hold the rifle so still that a candle flame placed beside the barrel would not flicker. He went back to the range. He didn't miss once. Here's what nobody tells you about iron sights. When you look through a rifle scope at 800 yards, the target fills your field of view. You can see their jacket, their collar, the color of their helmet. When you look through iron sights at 800 yards, through a tiny notched piece of cold steel, a human being is smaller than a grain of rice. Now add this. At 800 yards, a bullet doesn't fly straight, it arcs. At 800 yards, the round from a Mosin-Nagant carbine drops approximately 6 feet before it arrives. 6 feet, that's the height of a man. If Zhang aimed at the center of his target, the bullet would hit the ground at their feet. He had to aim at the ghost, the empty air where physics said his bullet would curve down to by the time it arrived. And wind? Wind at 800 yards can push a bullet 2, 3, 4 feet sideways. There's no dial on an iron sight, no computer, no compensator. Zhang Taofang had to calculate all of this, bullet drop, windage, target movement, in his head in seconds, while staying invisible. I want you to think about this for a second. You're staring through a piece of notched metal at a target the size of a grain of rice, half a mile away. Across from you, your enemy is looking back through a lens that makes you 8 times bigger. He can see your face. You can barely see him. Drop your answer in the comments. Do you think this was skill, or was there something else going on? Because the answer is more interesting than either option. Stay with me. His first confirmed kill came on February 15, 1953. He waited for a lull in the wind. He felt the air go still on the back of his hand, the same trick he'd used back home, hunting birds on the Jiangsu plains. He lined up the notched steel. He aimed not at the man, but at the space 2 feet above his right shoulder, where his calculation said the bullet would be at the moment the man moved into it. He squeezed, not pulled, squeezed. 3 kills in 5 minutes. The no-scope ghost had begun.
By late February, the American command on Triangle Hill had a problem they couldn't solve with artillery. Their men weren't being killed by mortar fire or grenades. They were being picked off, one by one, from a distance, by a source they couldn't locate, couldn't predict, and couldn't stop. They called him the Ghost, and they sent another ghost to find him. We don't know his name. The records don't give us one. What we know is this. He was a specialist, and he came to Triangle Hill with one mission: kill the man with no scope. And for the first 2 days, it looked like he would succeed. Zhang noticed something had changed. The shots coming back at him were different. Not suppression fire, not random. These were answers. He would shift position, and within 20 minutes, a round would crack in from the exact angle that covered his new location. Somebody was tracking him. Zhang did the only thing a ghost can do when someone is hunting them. He disappeared. He dug a hole in the frozen earth, not a foxhole, just a shallow depression, and he lay in it face down for 24 straight hours. He didn't move. He didn't eat. He controlled his breathing so carefully that his breath mist was barely visible in the morning cold. He was waiting for a mistake he wasn't even sure would come. The mistake came on the second day. The sun moved. In the morning, it had been behind the American's position, giving him cover, forcing Zhang to squint into the glare. But by early afternoon, the angle shifted, and Zhang saw it. The sun had caught the glass of the American's scope. Just for a second, less than a second, but Zhang saw it. He now knew exactly where the enemy was. He knew the distance. He knew the wind. It had been steady from the northwest all morning. He had one shot before the American repositioned. But there was a problem. He was in a hole in the ground. To fire at the angle he needed, he would have to expose himself fully for the 1-2 seconds it took to aim and fire. The American would see him the instant he moved. Zhang picked up a rock. He threw it 6 feet to his left. The American fired at the movement, missed. Now Zhang knew something critical. He knew the American was using a bolt-action rifle, and a bolt-action requires the shooter to cycle the bolt between shots. 3 seconds, maybe 2 for a trained man. Zhang had a window. He stood up. He didn't aim at the man. He aimed at the glint. He fired. The duel was over. If this reminds you of something, if you've seen the same psychological patience in another soldier, I want you to check our Stalingrad video. Vasily Zaitsev used almost the exact same decoy trick on a German specialist. The link is in the description. But stay here, because the story isn't finished, and what comes next is the part that changes everything. 214 confirmed kills, 32 days. An average of nearly 7 per day. For context, the legendary Simo Häyhä, the White Death of Finland, achieved his record over 4 months of winter warfare. Vasily Zaitsev's confirmed kills across the entire Battle of Stalingrad numbered around 250. Carlos Hathcock, one of the greatest snipers in American military history, finished his career with 93 confirmed kills. Zhang Taofang did 214 in just over a month, and not one enemy round touched him. Here is the detail that historians keep coming back to. After the war, when Zhang was awarded the title of Combat Hero First Class, the highest military honor China could bestow, he was asked to demonstrate his technique for military officials. He picked up a rifle. He placed a stone on the barrel, and he held it there for 20 minutes. The officials asked him how long he practiced this when he was in the trenches. He said, "Every night, until my arms stopped shaking." That was his secret. Not talent, not luck, just a man alone in a trench at 2 a.m. balancing a stone on a rifle barrel because he couldn't accept being ordinary. Stories like this one don't make the textbooks. They don't get the Hollywood budget. That's why we make these videos, to find the names that history dropped. If you want to be here when we open the next file, hit that subscribe button and the bell. It genuinely makes a difference to whether YouTube shows these stories to new people.
Zhang Taofang lived to be 83 years old. He became a factory worker after the war. He got married, he had children. He lived, by all accounts, a quiet life. In interviews in his later years, he almost never spoke about the kills, about the duels, about the 32 days on Triangle Hill. He spoke about the stone. "The stone taught me everything," he said in one interview. "The rifle doesn't shake. People shake. I just had to learn to stop being a person when I held it." I want you to sit with that for a moment. 214 times, a man looked through a piece of notched steel and became so still, so focused, so emptied of everything human that the enemy on the other end of his aim never knew what found them. And then every single time, he put the rifle down and went back to being a person. Zhang Taofang, combat hero first class, factory worker, husband, father. The man with no scope. Zhang was the first ghost we opened a file on, but in the frozen forests of Finland, there is a man who took everything Zhang did, the patience, the stillness, the discipline, and added one more rule. He refused to use a scope, not because he didn't have one. He refused because the glint of the glass would give him away. In 100 days, he recorded over 500 confirmed kills. His name was Simo Häyhä, and his story makes Zhang Taofang look like a warm-up act. The Sniper Legends playlist is on your screen right now. Every ghost we opened a file on is in there. I'm Dr. America, and I'll see you in the next file.